All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we are going on a really wild ride. You are going to experience the absolutely brutal, high-stakes life of a giant anaconda, starting right from the exact unforgiving second you're born. We're going to trace the entire lifespan of one of the world's most terrifying apex predators, taking you deep into the murky waters of the Amazon.
So what is it actually like to be born as a giant anaconda? I mean, imagine this for a second. You slip from the comfort of your mother's body straight into the incredibly dense, warm, humid air of the Amazon rainforest. Suddenly, you're thrust into this massive, noisy, chaotic world, and the very first rule of your brand new existence is established in less than a second. And that rule? You are completely, undeniably on your own.
Yeah, your mom, she leaves instantly. She doesn't stick around to nurture you, she doesn't protect you, and she definitely doesn't show you how to hunt. It sets up this unbelievably harsh reality right out of the gate. See, at this moment, you're only a couple of feet long. So to a jaguar, a caiman, or honestly even a large bird, you aren't some terrifying apex predator yet. You are just an irresistible, bite-sized snack. Your vulnerability is literally at its absolute maximum.
But hey, you aren't the only snack on the menu today. You're actually just one of 20 to 40 live babies born in this single clutch. You and your siblings immediately scatter in every possible direction, slipping right into the murky brown water. At this stage, your one and only defense is hiding. Thankfully, as you slide beneath the surface, your incredibly patterned mix of green and brown skin gives you this perfect camouflage against the river currents and the dense underbrush. Basically, you just disappear.
Because for a mother anaconda, this whole process is, well, incredibly unceremonious. To put it bluntly, and biologists actually say this, honestly, there's no real difference between giving birth and pooping. It is a purely instinctual act. You're pushed out into the wild, and she just leaves you behind without a second glance. The jungle truly does not care that you're the new kid on the block.
Moving on to climbing the food chain and surviving that super tricky juvenile phase. Because, let's face it, you can't hide forever. Sitting in the water all day makes you hungry.
So let's break down exactly how you secure that very first meal. Your senses are razor sharp. You feel the tiny vibration of a small fish or a frog nearby. Step 1, you wait. Patiently right below the surface, letting the current carry you, totally frozen. The tension just builds. Then, step 2, you strike with shocking lightning speed. Your jaws clamp down. And finally, step 3, you wrap those tiny coils around it and squeeze. It is a tiny victory, sure, but it's the exact blueprint for how you're going to survive for the rest of your life.
As you start racking up those little wins, you grow. You graduate from that infant diet of small frogs and fish to a much more substantial menu. Moving up in the world means you start eyeing things like capybaras, which, by the way, are the world's largest rodents, and even small, basking caimans. You're finally realizing your potential as a true predator.
But, let's not get cocky just yet. Growing pains are very real in the Amazon, and not every day is a win. Picture this slightly embarrassing moment. You try to ambush a capybara, totally convinced you have the muscle to take it down. But instead, you just end up getting dragged halfway across the river before it violently shakes you off and gets away. It's a pretty humbling reminder that even growing, terrifying predators have their off days and a pretty steep learning curve.
Which brings us to becoming the apex predator and finally ruling the Amazon. Because you do learn from those mistakes. You eat, you grow, you shed your skin, and you get massive. By the time you're over 15 feet long, your body is just pure, unadulterated muscle. You are no longer just surviving, you are commanding a healthy amount of fear from literally everything around you. Your adult menu, it now features deer, wild pigs, and adult caimans. But to hunt prey that large, you need the perfect real estate. You spend days slithering through the dense jungle just looking for a quiet stretch of river, hidden under a thick canopy, packed with unsuspecting prey, and totally clear of other predators. Once you find it, you scent mark it. It is officially yours.
Think about the timeline of this incredible journey for a second. From hiding for your life in the murky water during those first vulnerable months, to graduating to capybaras, to spending a solid decade just reaching that massive 15-foot milestone. This physical growth maps out your life perfectly as you gear up for one absolute biological imperative: passing on your legacy.
And that means it's time for passing on your legacy with the mating dance. Mating season arrives and your focus shifts entirely.
It's no longer just about survival and hunting. You pick up a scent, follow it through the swamp,
And when you finally find a mate, it isn't some quick encounter. It is this slow, winding, almost mesmerizing courtship dance. For hours, these massive bodies coil around each other, moving in a slow spiral until the deed is done. Your legacy is secured. But nature? Nature is completely unsentimental. The female will eventually birth 20 to 40 young, and she will abandon them instantly. That brutal cycle of abandonment, hiding and survival starts all over again for the next generation, exactly as it did for you.
Which leads us to the final chapter, when the jungle catches up. You've survived, you've ruled, and you've passed on your genes. But years of hauling that massive muscular body through thick mud, wrestling wild pigs, and surviving the harsh elements, it finally starts to take a heavy toll. It's a profound shift, really. You have to ask, what happens when an apex predator finally loses its speed? You're still incredibly strong for sure, but that youthful, explosive energy that fueled those lightning-fast strikes, it's fading. You feel the physical wear and tear deep in your coils. You can't just react anymore. You have to be vastly more calculated and strategic with every single ounce of energy you spend. So one day, submerged in the cool water, you spot a capybara. Now, normally, as a massive adult, you wouldn't even bother wasting energy on a meal this small. But today you feel a little nostalgic. You wait, completely still, and in a flash, you wrap it up. It's this deeply satisfying callback to where your journey as a predator all started. But as you swallow it, it hits you. The thrill just isn't quite the same anymore. You have fundamentally changed.
And then comes the day that truly signals the end. You're stalking a young deer right at the water's edge. You've followed the exact same steps you've executed thousands of times before. You wait, you coil your muscles to lunge, but as you strike, something goes wrong. Your body just doesn't move as fast as your brain tells it to. The deer senses you at the last possible fraction of a second, and it bolts. You completely miss. For the first time in a very, very long time, you fail. And the absolute exhaustion you feel as you slip back into the water, it isn't just from a missed strike. It's the sheer heavy weight of the years finally catching up to you.
So, what really happens when the jungle finally catches up with you? You know, Hollywood movies love to show these giant predators going down in some epic, glorious battle. But the truth that we've uncovered in this explainer today is much quieter and honestly, maybe a bit more haunting. Most giant anacondas don't die in combat, they simply grow too slow and too tired to hunt, until eventually they just quietly fade away, and the jungle simply reclaims them. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?